Lecture 11, the Musculoskeletal System. This will be the last lecture in the series regarding biological systems. So let's dive in. Starting first with the muscular system. There are three types of muscles. Skeletal muscles are involved in support and movement. This is generally the type of muscle we think of when we think of muscles. The red muscles, or red fibers, are slow twitch because they have lots and lots of aerobic action, lots of oxidative phosphorylation, which gives them that red color. White fibers, on the other hand, are fast twitch and are primarily anaerobic, which is the reason why they appear white. Smooth muscles are involved in the respiratory, reproductive, cardiovascular, and digestive areas. When you think of the digestive tract, peristalsis is conducted by smooth muscles. And cardiac muscle is only in the heart. The functional unit of a muscle is the sarcomere, which is the base unit of a striated muscle. It is made of myosin and actin filaments. Troponin and tropomyosin are what regulate actin-myosin interactions. The divisions of the sarcomere are as follows. The M line is in the center, the I band is the thin filaments, H zone being the thick, and A band being the thick filaments in their entirety. They're attached end to end to become myofibrils. Here's an overview of what that's going to look like. As the muscles contract, the H zone is going to shrink as this condenses down, and the A bands will slide into the I bands, thus constricting the muscle. Take note that muscles can only constrict. This is why you have antagonistic actions. For example, your bicep brings your arm up, and your tricep extends it out. Muscles can only contract, so make sure you're aware of that. When it comes to muscular action, there are basically contractions controlled by neuromuscular junctions. This will trigger calcium ion release, causing the contraction. Note that muscles are all or nothing, and simple twitch because of that reason. The strength of a said muscle is by frequency of contractions, not necessarily based on how they contract. A frequency summation is when additional or multiple signals hit the muscle before it has a chance to relax completely, causing a sort of twitching motion. And tetanus is the prolonged, stronger contraction. This will accrue oxygen debt if it continues beyond the oxygen supply limit and rate, which is where red and white fibers come into play. Creatine phosphate transfers phosphate groups to make ADP into ATP. And you're going to remember myoglobin as a heme-containing protein that is a muscular oxygen reserve in the event of prolonged stress and activity. Let's go into the second portion of the musculoskeletal system. For starters, there's two divisions of the human skeleton. The axial system is head to toe, so think about it going from your head, your skull, all the way down to your sacrum or your tailbone. The appendicular skeleton is just the extremities protruding from this. Now remember that the pelvic bones also constitute the appendicular skeleton, not the axial, because there is no spinal or nerve cord going down. When we look at bone composition, we have to look at the components of it. The compact bone is harder, thus providing strength and density, whereas the spongy bone has the lattice structures that are filled with bone marrow. This bone marrow is important for synthesis of things like blood cells and immune cells. Long bones are the primary site of blood cell synthesis. So an example of this would be your femurs, or the bones that are underneath your quadriceps. Ligaments attach bone to muscles, and the bone matrix is organized into lamellae and have structures to allow for nutrient and waste management. Because of this reason, bones are not technically dead tissue. They are very much alive and well. When it comes to remodeling bones, there are osteoblasts which build bones and osteoclasts which reabsorb bones. The general way I like to remember this is osteoblasts build. PTH, vitamin D, and calcitonin are all involved in the regulation of this bone remodeling process. PTH, or parathyroid hormone, increases the reabsorption of bone to increase calcium and phosphate blood concentrations. This will obviously cause the bone to be reabsorbed. Vitamin D will increase reabsorption of bone to increase the turnover and yield stronger bones. So it just breaks it down and builds it stronger. Calcitonin will increase the blood formation to decrease the calcium concentration in the blood. So you'll notice that PTH and calcitonin have antagonistic interactions. Cartilage is something that's in our body as well, and it provides structure in certain portions. It's firm and elastic, and it's secreted by chondrocytes and found in areas requiring more flexibility or cushion. Note that it's avascular, therefore it's not innervated, and in fetal life, it's going to be the precursor to bones. Below is a diagram listing the distribution of cartilage in adults. The last portion of the skeletal system we'll talk about is joints. An immovable joint is one that is fused together. An example of this is in your skull. Those were once joints, but over time they fused together into a full structure. Movable joints, on the other hand, are strengthened by ligaments and contain synovial capsules filled with synovial fluid. Below is a diagram listing the different kinds of joints in the body. Alright, so that'll finish up with the biological systems. In the next lecture, we're going to go into genetics and evolution. Please join us then.